Pastor Emeka, deeply shaken by the sight, knelt beside the body, offering a silent prayer for the departed soul. His heart was heavy with the realization that their presence in Muluba had ignited a conflict far beyond their initial fears.
You are welcome to another enlightening story on Story Desk.
The village of Muluba is a tapestry of vibrant cultures and ancient traditions, nestled in the heart of a lush valley. Its landscapes are painted with the deep greens of dense forest and the rich browns of fertile earth and clear streams. Life in Muluba moves to the rhythm of seasons and the ancestral drum beats that echo in the cool evening air. On an unremarkable morning, as the village awakes to the familiar chorus of nature, an unfamiliar procession makes its way along the dusty path leading into the heart of Muluba. A group of Christian missionaries, led by Pastor Emeka, arrives with a message of hope, faith, and healing. Their appearance is a stark contrast to the villagers' colorful attire and traditional garb, dressed as they are in simple, functional clothing, carrying nothing but their Bibles and personal belongings. The villagers' initial reaction is one of curiosity mixed with wariness. Children are the first to approach, their laughter and chatter piercing the morning's tranquility. Adults follow, but with more caution, gathering around the newcomers with a blend of hospitality and suspicion. Their eyes, reflecting a myriad of emotions, scan the missionaries, trying to decipher the intentions behind the strangers' arrival. King Obina, a leader revered for his wisdom and fairness, is informed of the missionaries' arrival. Recognizing the importance of this moment, he decides to personally welcome them, setting an example for his people. Surrounded by his advisors and a few curious onlookers, he approaches Pastor Emeka and his group with a dignified air. Pastor Emeka, aware of the delicate nature of their mission, steps forward to greet the king. He speaks of peace, brotherhood, and the shared human quest for understanding and healing. His words, though foreign, are sincere and resonate with a surprising warmth. King Obina, intrigued by this message and the potential it holds for his people, especially in light of recent hardships, invites the missionaries to stay as guests of the village. He sees in their arrival an opportunity for learning and possibly a new kind of solace for his people. However, not all share the king's openness. Whispers spread among the villagers, and the watchful eyes of the village's spiritual leaders, particularly Dibia Okonkwo, view the missionaries' presence with suspicion and concern. The balance of beliefs and traditions that has defined Muluba for generations is now poised at the brink of change. As the missionaries settle into the simple accommodations provided by their hosts, the village of Muluba stands at a crossroads. The arrival of these strangers with their foreign faith has sown seeds of curiosity, hope, and doubt. The days ahead promise to challenge the convictions and traditions held dear by the people of Muluba, testing the very fabric of their community. 3 days had passed since the missionaries' arrival in Muluba. The initial shock of their presence had given way to a cautious routine, with the villagers engaging in their daily activities under the watchful eyes of both the newcomers and the gods. The morning had dawned bright and clear, promising another day of warmth and toil under the benevolent gaze of the sun. Suddenly, without warning, the sky began to darken. At first, the villagers thought it a passing cloud, an innocent shadow to grant brief respite from the sun's intensity. But the darkness deepened, swallowing the light in a manner no cloud could. Midday turned to twilight, and within moments, the world was plunged into an eerie night. Stars, absent from their rightful time, blinked confusedly in the premature blackness. Panic spread through Muluba like wildfire. The fields and streams, once alive with the sounds of work and play, fell silent, as if nature itself held its breath. Children cried, clinging to their mothers, while men grabbed torches and weapons, fearing an attack by unseen foes. The sudden darkness was an affront to the natural order, a phenomenon neither the oldest among them nor their ancestors' tales had foreseen. In the heart of the village, the square became a beacon of light and noise as villagers gathered, seeking comfort in numbers and the glow of lanterns. Voices rose in a cacophony of theories and prayers, each person trying to make sense of the unfathomable. The elders spoke of omens and prophecies, while others whispered fears of the end of days. Dibia Okonkwo, the chief priest, his face a mask of grave concern, stepped into the center of the gathering. His voice, when he spoke, cut through the dim with the authority of one who communed with the gods. He declared the darkness a divine manifestation, a sign of the gods' anger at the intrusion of foreign beliefs into the sacred lands of Muluba. The missionaries, he claimed, had brought this curse upon them all by offending the delicate balance between the spiritual and the earthly realms. King Obina, witnessing the rising tide of fear and anger among his people, called for silence. With a manner that commanded respect, he urged calm and rationality. Acknowledging the darkness as a challenge to their understanding and faith, he promised to seek answers through dialogue and wisdom, rather than succumb to fear and superstition. Yet, his heart weighed heavy with uncertainty, for the phenomenon defied all logic and knowledge. As the villagers dispersed to their homes, a sense of unease settled over Muluba. Homes that once felt safe now seemed small and vulnerable beneath the vast, inexplicable darkness. Families huddled together, finding solace in whispered words of hope and the flickering light of their hearts. In the wake of the sudden darkness that enveloped Muluba, the villagers found themselves caught in a maelstrom of fear and confusion. The day that began with the usual bustle of village life had descended into chaos, as an inexplicable night fell over the land. As the initial shock gave way to a desperate search for explanations, the villagers looked to their traditions and spiritual leaders for guidance. Dibia Okonkwo, the village's chief priest, became the focal point of the community's quest for understanding. A man deeply revered for his knowledge of the spiritual realm and his ability to commune with the gods, Dibia Okonkwo had always been the bridge between the seen and the unseen. Now, more than ever, his insight was sought to navigate the crisis that threatened the very fabric of Muluba society. Gathering the villagers in the village's square, Dibia Okonkwo spoke with a gravity that matched the darkness that surrounded them. His words, heavy with authority and ancient wisdom, resonated through the crowd. He proclaimed the darkness a direct manifestation of the God's wrath, a divine retribution for the village's dalliance with foreign beliefs brought by the Christian missionaries. He painted the missionaries as agents of disruption, their presence an affront to the sacred traditions and gods that had protected Muluba for generations. The villagers, many already predisposed to suspicion of the newcomers, received Dibia Okonkwo's words with a mix of fear and vindication. The darkness, now imbued with spiritual significance, was seen as a clear sign that the delicate balance between the earthly and the divine had been disturbed. Conversations turned to debates, as families and friends grappled with the implications of Dibia Okonkwo's declaration. Some called for the immediate expulsion of the missionaries, believing that appeasing the gods was the only path to restoring light and order to Muluba. King Obina, witnessing the rising tension and division among his people, felt the weight of leadership more heavily than ever. Caught between his duty to uphold the traditions of his ancestors and his own belief in the possibility of understanding and coexistence, he sought counsel from the elders and advisors. The king recognized the potential for the situation to escalate into outright conflict, threatening the peace and unity of Muluba. Amidst the turmoil, the missionaries themselves became targets of suspicion and hostility. Their movements were watched, and their intentions questioned. Pastor Emeka and his group, aware of the growing animosity, faced a dilemma. They had come to Muluba with messages of love and salvation, only to find themselves cast as harbingers of darkness and division. As night continued to reign over Muluba, the villagers' reaction evolved from fear to determination. Dibia Okonkwo's influence grew, as he called for unity in the face of divine displeasure. Rituals and prayers to the gods were organized, with the hope of appeasing the angered deities and lifting the curse of darkness from the land. King Obina, ruler of Muluba, stood at the crossroads of a profound dilemma as the village grappled with the enveloping darkness. A leader deeply respected for his wisdom and fair judgment, he found himself navigating a tumultuous sea of tradition, fear, and the unknown. The sudden and inexplicable shift from day to night had not only plunged the village into darkness but had also cast a shadow over his heart, stirring in him a turmoil that mirrored the confusion of his people. The arrival of the Christian missionaries had initially sparked in King Obina a sense of curiosity. Their message, one of hope, faith, and healing, was unlike anything he had encountered. It promised a kind of salvation that transcended the physical ailments and woes of daily life, speaking instead to the soul's yearning for peace and redemption. This was a novel concept to Obina, who had been raised to believe in the power of the gods and ancestors, whose favor was sought through rituals and sacrifices. However, the darkness that descended upon Muluba seemed to confirm the fears and warnings of Dibia Okonkwo and those who clung to the old ways. It was interpreted as a clear sign of the gods' displeasure, a divine reprimand for entertaining foreign beliefs that challenged the very foundations of their society. The villagers' reaction, swayed by the chief priest's words, was turning increasingly against the missionaries, viewing them as the cause of the gods' wrath. Caught between his duty to protect and preserve the traditions of his ancestors and his personal intrigue with the missionaries' teachings, King Obina faced a leadership crisis of unprecedented magnitude. His role demanded that he listen to the voices of his people, yet his heart urged him to seek a deeper understanding of the darkness that afflicted them. Could it truly be the work of angered deities, punishing them for their openness to new ideas? Or was there another explanation, one that lay beyond the realm of their current understanding? As he pondered these questions, King Obina's concerns extended beyond the immediate crisis. He foresaw the potential for greater division among his people, a rift that could tear the fabric of their community apart. The unity and harmony of Muluba, which had always been its strength, now hung in the balance, threatened by fear and suspicion. In seeking counsel, King Obina convened a meeting with his elders and advisors, a gathering that included both supporters and critics of the missionaries. The debate was heated, reflecting the broader discord within the village. Voices of tradition argued for the expulsion of the missionaries, insisting that only a return to the old ways could appease the gods and restore light to Muluba. Others, influenced by the king's more measured approach, urged caution and the pursuit of understanding before taking drastic action. Amidst this turmoil, King Obina realized that the resolution to Muluba's plight lay not in the outright rejection of the new or the blind adherence to the old but in the courage to explore the unknown. His concern for his people and their future propelled him toward a decision that would redefine the path of Muluba. He resolved to protect the missionaries from harm and called for a period of reflection and prayer, seeking guidance from both the gods of his ancestors and the new god the missionaries spoke of. In the midst of Muluba's enveloping darkness and the growing discord between ancient traditions and new beliefs, a personal tragedy struck the heart of the village. Princess Adis, the beloved daughter of King Obina, fell gravely ill. Her vibrant spirit, which had always been a source of joy and pride to her father and the people of Muluba, deemed as a mysterious ailment took hold, resisting every attempt at cure and explanation. The princess's condition worsened with each passing day, her once luminous eyes now dull with pain, her laughter silenced. The royal chambers, usually a place of warmth and light, became a silent witness to the struggle between life and death. King Obina, already burdened by the weight of his responsibilities to his people, found himself facing the unbearable prospect of losing his daughter. Dibia Okonkwo and the village healers were summoned to apply their knowledge and skills, honed through generations of practice. They prepared herbal concoctions and performed rituals, calling upon their ancestors and the gods for their intervention. Yet, despite their efforts, Adi's condition showed no signs of improvement. Each failed attempt only served to deepen the sense of despair and helplessness that gripped King Obina and the royal household. The illness of the princess became a somber reflection of the turmoil that afflicted Muluba. Just as the village sought a path out of the darkness that had befallen it, so too did King Obina search for a ray of hope in the shadow of Adi's sickness. The parallel was not lost on the villagers, who saw the princess's plight as a manifestation of the larger crisis that tested their faith and unity. Amid this atmosphere of sorrow and fear, the Christian missionaries, led by Pastor Emeka, approached King Obina with an offer of help. They spoke of a different kind of healing, one that transcended the physical and reached into the spiritual realm. Their words, filled with compassion and conviction, resonated with Obina, igniting a flicker of hope in his heart. Yet, he hesitated, aware that accepting their help would be seen by many as a betrayal of the village's traditions and the gods who had always protected them. The decision to allow the missionaries to pray for Princess Adis was not taken lightly. King Obina recognized it as a pivotal moment, one that could alter the course of Muluba's history. It was a gamble, a leap of faith in the face of the unknown, driven by a father's love for his daughter and a king's duty to explore every possibility for the well-being of his people. As the missionaries gathered around Adi's bedside, their prayers rising in a gentle yet powerful chorus, the village waited with bated breath. The outcome of this intervention would not only determine the fate of the princess but also shape the future relationship between the villagers and the missionaries, between the old ways and the new. In the heart of the enveloping crisis that had gripped Muluba, a glimmer of hope emerged through the darkness that had both literally and metaphorically overshadowed the village. Pastor Emeka and his fellow missionaries, having witnessed the profound despair of King Obina and the palpable fear among the villagers due to Princess Adi's worsening condition, stepped forward with an offer rooted in faith and compassion. Their proposal was simple yet profound: to pray for Princess Adi's healing. This gesture, though met with skepticism and even outright disdain by some, was a testament to the missionaries' unwavering belief in the power of prayer and the healing grace of their faith. Pastor Emeka, aware of the delicate balance of beliefs and the tensions that his presence and that of his companions had already stirred within Muluba, approached King Obina with respect and humility. He did not dismiss the traditional healing methods that had been attempted, nor did he criticize the village's reliance on their gods and ancestors. Instead, he offered an alternative, a different kind of intervention that transcended the boundaries of the known and tapped into a universal desire for healing and salvation. The offer to pray for Princess Adis was not merely an act of religious conviction but also a bridge between two worlds. For Pastor Emeka and the missionaries, it represented an opportunity to demonstrate the love and compassion that lay at the core of their message. For King Obimba and his people, it was an invitation to explore the unknown, to consider the possibility that hope could be found in the most unexpected of places. Despite the villagers' skepticism and the potential backlash from traditionalists like Dibia Okonkwo, King Obina, moved by a father's desperation and a ruler's responsibility to his people, accepted the missionaries' offer. This decision, made in the privacy of the royal chambers but with implications that would resonate throughout Muluba, marked a pivotal moment in the village's story. As the missionaries began their prayers, a sense of solemnity enveloped the room where Princess Adis lay. Their voices, soft yet firm, rose in a harmonious appeal to a higher power for the restoration of the princess's health. There was no fanfare, no spectacle, just a collective outpouring of faith and hope. Then, something miraculous occurred. As the prayers continued, the oppressive shadow that had lingered over Muluba began to lift. It was not immediate, nor was it dramatic, but slowly, almost imperceptibly, the darkness receded. By the time the missionaries concluded their prayers, a noticeable change had taken place. The air seemed lighter, the weight of despair less crushing. Though the physical darkness that had plunged Muluba into night remained, the spiritual and emotional darkness had begun to clear. This unexpected outcome served as a powerful testament to the villagers, many of whom had observed the prayer session from a distance or heard about it in hushed tones. The correlation between the missionaries' prayers and the subtle lifting of the oppressive atmosphere was undeniable, sparking curiosity and a tentative re-evaluation of their initial skepticism. In the royal chamber, where Princess Adis lay weakened by her mysterious ailment, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation and an undercurrent of skepticism. King Obina, Pastor Emeka, and a small assembly of villagers, including a reluctant Dibia Okonkwo, had gathered to witness what was either to be a moment of divine intervention or a deepening of the village's crisis. Pastor Emeka, standing at the bedside, looked down at the princess with a gentle compassion. He turned to King Obina, seeking a final confirmation. "Your Majesty, are you ready to proceed? Our faith teaches us that healing comes from the grace of God. We pray, but it is His will that prevails." King Obina, his face a mask of hope battling despair, nodded solemnly. "Proceed, Pastor Emeka. My heart tells me we must embrace every possibility for my daughter's sake." As the missionaries began their prayer, Dibia Okonkwo couldn't contain his skepticism. "Words," he muttered under his breath, "just words. Our gods demand more than mere whispers to the wind." Pastor Emeka, overhearing Dibia's doubt, continued undeterred, his voice rising in a fervent plea, "Lord, we ask for your healing hands to touch Princess Adis. Restore her to health, that she may rise again in the fullness of her strength and spirit." The villagers watched in silent awe as the room seemed to fill with an inexplicable warmth. The missionaries' prayer, a simple yet powerful invocation, hung in the air, a stark contrast to the elaborate rituals they were accustomed to. As the prayer came to a close, a moment of silence enveloped the chamber. All eyes were on Princess Adis, whose pallor had been the image of death itself. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, color began to return to her cheeks. Her chest, which had risen and fallen with the shallow breaths of the afflicted, deepened its rhythm. Pastor Emeka stepped back, his own heart filled with wonder and gratitude. Praise be to God, he whispered, a testament to his faith and the mysterious ways in which it worked. Dibia Okonkwo, witnessing the undeniable transformation, felt a stirring of confusion and resentment. His life's work, his belief in the gods and the rituals of his ancestors, seemed to be challenged in the span of a single prayer. King Obina, tears welling in his eyes, approached his daughter's bedside. As if sensing her father's presence, Adi's eyes fluttered open, meeting his gaze with a clarity and vitality that had been absent for too long. Father, her voice was weak but filled with the sweet melody of life. Adis, my child, Obina choked out, overcome with relief and joy, you have returned to us. The room erupted in a cacophony of emotions, relief, joy, disbelief, and for some, a deepening sense of unease. The miraculous recovery of Princess Adis, while a cause for celebration, also ignited a firestorm of controversy within Muluba. Dibia Okonkwo, the first to break the stunned silence, turned to the assembled villagers, this healing. What price would the gods demand for this affront to their power? Do not be so quick to embrace what you do not understand. Pastor Emeka, facing Dibia Okonkwo, offered a gentle rebuke. Dibia Okonkwo, today we witnessed not an affront, but a bridge between our faiths. Healing and hope are gifts, not challenges to our beliefs. The miraculous recovery of Princess Adis, while a beacon of hope for many, ignited a storm within Dibia Okonkwo. The chief priest of Muluba, a staunch defender of the village's ancient traditions and beliefs, saw the intervention of the Christian missionaries as a direct threat to the fabric of their society. His fury, simmering beneath a facade of control, found its outlet in a confrontation with King Obina. Dibia Okonkwo sought out the king at the earliest opportunity, his stride purposeful as he navigated the corridors of the royal compound. The guards, recognizing the urgency and anger in his demeanor, stepped aside, allowing him to enter the king's private chambers unannounced. Your Majesty, Dibia Okonkwo began, his voice a mix of respect and barely contained rage. You have allowed strangers to challenge the gods of our ancestors. You have placed your faith in their empty words and dismissed the powers that have protected Muluba for generations. King Obina, still basking in the relief of his daughter's recovery, faced Dibia Okonkwo with a calmness that belied the tension in the room. Dibia Okonkwo, my daughter lives. The darkness that took hold of her has been lifted. Can we not see this as a sign that perhaps there is room in our hearts for more than one path to the divine? Room. Dibia Okonkwo's voice rose in disbelief. You speak of room when the very foundations of our beliefs are being eroded by these interlopers. You, who are the custodian of our traditions, would have us believe that the gods are so easily swayed by foreign prayers. King Obina, understanding the depth of Dibia Okonkwo's convictions, sought to bridge the widening gap. I am custodian of our people's welfare, first and foremost. If the gods have chosen to heal my daughter through means we do not understand, who are we to question their wisdom? Our ancestors spoke of many paths to the truth. Why must we see this as a threat rather than a blessing? Dibia Okonkwo, taken aback by the king's words, struggled to contain his frustration. A blessing. You see the undermining of our way of life as a blessing. What happens when the next crisis befalls us, Your Majesty? Will we abandon our rituals and deities to chase after foreign gods who know nothing of our lands? The king sighed, the weight of leadership pressing upon him. Dibia Okonkwo, I do not seek to abandon our ways or our gods. I seek only to heal the rifts that threaten to divide us. Muluba is more than its beliefs, it is its people. We must find a way to coexist, to learn from one another. The healing of my daughter has shown us that there is more than one way to seek and find the divine. Let us not close our hearts to the lessons this moment may teach us. Dibia Okonkwo, his fury unabated but recognizing the futility of further argument, bowed stiffly to the king. Your Majesty, I fear for what we may lose in this pursuit of the unknown. I can only hope that the gods will be merciful in their judgment of our actions. With that, Dibia Okonkwo turned and left the king's presence, his mind rotating rapidly with plans to reaffirm the village's faith in the old ways. The confrontation had laid bare the growing chasm between tradition and change, a chasm that threatened to engulf Muluba. In the aftermath of Princess Adi's recovery and the contentious debate with King Obina, Dibia Okonkwo found himself at a crossroads. The healing had not only challenged his authority but also threatened to unravel the very fabric of the village's spiritual beliefs. Feeling cornered and desperate to preserve the traditional ways, Dibia Okonkwo convened a secret meeting with his closest followers under the cover of night. Gathered in the secluded grove that served as a sanctuary for the most sacred rituals, the group formed a circle around Dibia Okonkwo. The dim light of torches flickered across their determined faces, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with the urgency of their cause. "Brothers," Dibia Okonkwo began, his voice low but filled with a fervor that commanded attention, "Muluba stands on the precipice of an abyss. The missionaries, with their foreign gods and seductive promises of healing, threatened to lead us into darkness." One of his followers, a young but respected warrior named Chike, stepped forward. "Dibia, we have seen the respect you command. The people still look to you for guidance. What would you have us do?" Dibia Okonkwo's eyes glinted in the torchlight, a testament to the resolve that had formed within him. "We must act to protect our village from these interlopers. If the king will not heed the danger, we must make the danger known to all." Another voice, that of Kechi, a wise woman known for her deep knowledge of herbs and law, spoke up. "How do we awaken the people to this threat? They are bewitched by the missionaries' words and deeds." A dark plan began to take shape, born of desperation and a profound belief in the sanctity of their traditions. "We shall create a crisis that even the king cannot ignore. A tragedy that will turn the hearts of the people against these missionaries," Dibia Okonkwo declared, his words sending a chill through the assembled group. Chike, understanding the gravity of Dibia Okonkwo's suggestion, asked, "What form would this tragedy take?" Dibia Okonkwo responded with a grim determination. "A life will be lost. A soul sacrificed to protect the many. We will place the blame at the missionaries' doorstep, painting them as murderers in the eyes of our people." Dibia Okonkwo's reply was as cold as the night air. "It is not for us to decide. The spirits of our ancestors will guide us to the one whose sacrifice will serve the greater purpose. Trust in the wisdom of the gods." The meeting concluded with a somber pact forged in the shadows. Dibia Okonkwo and his followers dispersed, each wrestling with the implications of their plot. The plan to discredit the missionaries by framing them for murder was a testament to the lengths to which they were willing to go to protect their way of life. As the plot against the missionaries began to unfold, the village of Muluba found itself on the brink of a crisis that would test the bonds of community, faith, and morality. The dawn broke over Muluba with an uneasy quiet, a portent of the turmoil that was about to unfold. Under the cover of darkness, Dibia Okonkwo and his followers had executed the most grievous part of their plan. A life had been taken, a soul offered in sacrifice, all in a desperate bid to preserve the fabric of their traditions. The body, that of a traveler unknown to the village, lay beside the missionary's house, an ominous symbol of the lengths to which the chief priest and his followers were willing to go. As the first rays of light revealed the grim scene, whispers of horror and disbelief began to spread through Muluba. The missionaries, upon discovering the body at their doorstep, were struck with a profound sense of dread. They understood the implications immediately. This was no random act of violence but a deliberate attempt to turn the village against them. Pastor Emeka, deeply shaken by the sight, knelt beside the body, offering a silent prayer for the departed soul. His heart was heavy with the realization that their presence in Muluba had ignited a conflict far beyond their initial fears. What is going to be the end of Pastor Emeka and his missionaries group in this saga? Will King Obina succumb to Dibia Okonkwo's pressure by refusing to accept foreign god? Watch out in the concluding part of this epic story. I kindly ask for your support in subscribing, sharing, and liking my YouTube channel. By subscribing, you will stay updated on all of my latest content and be a part of my growing community. Sharing my videos with your friends and family will help spread the word about my channel, while liking my videos will boost their visibility on the platform. Every subscriber, share, and like helps me to reach a larger audience and continue pursuing my passion for creating content. Your support means everything to me, and I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you who takes the time to subscribe, share, and like my YouTube channel. Thank you very much and bye for now.